All right. So is this the end? I mean, is this the end? The end for Bitcoin? Is it all over? Is it going to zero? Is it going to zero? That's what many people are saying. That's what some people are predicting. And you might have read some of this and you might have been thinking, oh my goodness, Paul, you've been bullish on Bitcoin. You have these crazy predictions, 250,000, $1 million. What do you say now? What do you say now? And I want to say that, you know what? If I had a Bitcoin for every time they said Bitcoin was dead, I'd be really rich. I'd be incredibly rich already. All right. So obviously, let's start with where we are today. So Bitcoin today is somewhere at $20,000, $21,000 after going through a meltdown really over this weekend. So let's deal with like why there was a meltdown this weekend. So it turns out that there are a lot of people that were using leverage, old-fashioned leverage. Leverage means borrowing money from someone and then making big bets in some way, shape, or form, which is risk. And as those bets didn't turn out, they were forced to sell and they were forced sellers. When you're a forced seller, you have no choice other than to accept the price that is being offered to you. And usually it's a crappy price. I mean, that's just the reality of forced selling. And those forced sellers have pushed Bitcoin price down all the way to, I believe at the low was like $17,500, which is lower than the last peak, which was nearly $20,000. So that's really saying something. So they really jammed this thing down. All right. Now, there is a good side to these kinds of meltdowns and this kind of forced selling, which is that it clears the deck. It completely, utterly clears the deck. In other words, from here, you wiped out the forced sellers, the margin-based sellers, the hyper-speculative buyers that got in thinking that there were only gains coming, that there would never be any volatility, that would be a straight line up. All those folks wiped out, not gone, wiped out. I mean, in other words, their capital has just been gone. So it's bad for them, but it's good for the Bitcoin market because it really wipes out the weakest buyers, the weakest hodlers. Generally, the paper hands, the weak hands, now gone. And now, the folks that stepped in to buy at 17,500, you can bet those are whales. Those are some people with a lot of conviction. And they can look at a price chart of Bitcoin and they can see, well, 17,500 is actually a pretty steep discount, not just relative to the high. I mean, it's like a 75% discount to the high, but it's even lower than, the high price that we saw in 2017, which was just a little bit under $20,000, right? So this is a low price, folks. This is a low price. And, many people's like, well, Paul, it tells you that the market for Bitcoin is gone. Nobody wants it. It's worth zero. It's going away. You've been wrong. Well, hey, you're entitled to your opinion. I'm going to keep mine. And my opinion is that I believe that this is actually going to turn out to be a historic low, which is that when you zoom out and you connect the dots in 1, 2, or 3 years, it was like right there. You should have been a buyer, not a seller. You should have been a buyer, not a seller. Now remember, this channel is opinion, not advice, not telling you what to do, because in the end, it's your money. And when you lose your money or you make money, it's ultimately your responsibility. But still, that's my opinion. That's my point of view. All right. And I've had predictions out there for $250,000 by June of this year. And obviously that's not going to happen because it's at $21,000. So it's not going to happen. Still, the price prediction, you separate it out from the timing, nothing's really changed. Why? Well, I'm going to just give you these numbers, which come from a survey that was done by Bank of America, where they surveyed 1,000 people, right? And 90% of the people in this Bank of America survey were looking to buy crypto in 2022. And while this was not, this was done like about a few weeks ago. So the price is being lower. My guess is this number is 95 or 98%. And that's, number one, 90% of people are looking to buy crypto, and 30% of these folks are planning to hold it. In other words, they just plan to buy and hold. They're just planning to buy Bitcoin, buy crypto, and just hold it for a very, very long time. So this is something that we can see if you're constantly reading about Bitcoin, Ethereum, crypto, which is that the market for it is just beginning. The vast majority of people don't own Bitcoin, don't own Ethereum, don't own crypto. They would like to own it, and they are preparing to own it. And then when you add layers of it, which is there are companies that want to own it. There are pension funds that want to own it. There are family offices that want to own it. There are mutual funds, hedge funds, organizations, governments. Pretty much everyone does not currently own crypto or Bitcoin or Ethereum. It's a very large market. And you might think, well, what are they waiting for? Well, one of the things that they're waiting for is really for this market to have a few guardrails, some regulation. And as a result of this crisis, if you will, where, all these projects and schemes of people that have used borrowed money and leveraged Bitcoin and Ethereum to try and, build their businesses very quickly by offering something for nothing. Hey, we'll give you 20% yield, put your money here. And these are all just growth strategies that, anybody that's analyzed markets knows that, banks have used this in another time to try and build their banks up very quickly, offer a very big yield and try and get people to go in. Well, those strategies and projects and schemes now gone. And now, as a result of them really causing this implosion in crypto, we're going to see some regulation. We're also going to see people be a little bit more skeptical. And what that does is creates like a hard market. In other words, where you wiped out sellers, and when buyers come in, they're a little bit more skeptical, they're more careful, they're more thoughtful. And the other thing that it does is it creates a long line of buyers, because one of the worst things that you can see in a market is where everybody comes in all at once, thinking that it's going to skyrocket immediately. That's a terrible market. It's a terrible market because all the demand is sapped immediately. What you really want is a slow market, a very long line of buyers, that are going to buy a little bit day after day, day after day, day after day, and in the process, bid the price higher. In other words, every day there is enough demand that keeps sellers out of the market and keeps buyers in the market and keeps that asking price constantly moving higher. And I believe that that's the market that we're now in as a result of these forced liquidations and all the stuff that's happened. So I am BOP, bullish, optimistic, positive on Bitcoin, on crypto, on Ethereum. Now, clearly, my past prediction, not going to happen. $250,000 by the end of June. Yeah, I'd like it to happen, but it's not going to happen. But zoom out 1 or 2 years, Bitcoin's price, it's going higher. It's going higher, and it's going to keep going higher because the demand hasn't changed. The demand is actually going to now come in even stronger. And of course, the supply hasn't changed yet, but that, there's now with the whales, the strong hands, having accumulated all this Bitcoin at dirt cheap prices, effectively the supply is less. So when the next big player wants to come in and buy 100 Bitcoin or buy 500 Bitcoin or buy 1,000 Bitcoin, it's going to be hard to buy it without moving the price higher. Bottom line, it's been a very rough period for Bitcoin and crypto caused by all of the things that I laid out, but still, the future, it's incredibly bright. It's phenomenally bright. And it's just a matter of time before Bitcoin hits my price targets of 250,000 and then above. So I asked the question, is this the end? Is it all over for Bitcoin? Absolutely not. It's barely begun. It's barely begun. It's going higher. It's going higher sooner rather than later. So that's my video for this week. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, come back next week. It's Paul saying bye.